reproduction of this content is not allowed without the express written consent of EBH Fitness, LLC. We're back.
All right, everyone, welcome to episode 1 of season 2 of the Borderland Sports Report. As you can see, I got a new partner in crime, former America's head football coach, Patrick Melton. He graced me with joining me this year to give me his insight on what he's seeing from a head coach's perspective. So I'm definitely looking forward to hearing that. But Coach, thank you for joining us and welcome.
Appreciate you having me on.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I think it's gonna be a good season. We had a typical El Paso kickoff to the season today. Monsoon rains just come in from out of nowhere and really wiped out a bunch of games today.
Oh, yeah, it's going to make it pretty boring right now for discussion purposes. But it's like I was telling you before we got started, it's a normal thing. It's a normal thing. I can remember finishing a game against Del Valle, I believe, in 2017. I think we finished almost at midnight, and because of the lightning delays. So it just seems to always happen.
That's crazy. You would think that Mother Nature would give us a break, huh? It's Texas. It's football season. Mother Nature should give us a break. No luck at all. But there was a bunch of games going on. We were just watching the Eastwood St. John Bosco game, and that was not pretty. I think it's going into the fourth quarter. It was 64-7 when we started. So there's a lot of games still going on right now. So some of these scores we're going to be updating as we're going through and talking.
Well, I think it was 60. I think they scored again. Eastwood had 14.
Okay. Yeah, it's so I'm definitely, I don't know. I kind of expected it.
You know, when you take that game, you know who you're going to play.
Yeah.
And kudos to Coach Lopez for taking the game. There's not a whole lot of coaches in El Paso that's willing to put their kids in that arena. And, you know, at the end of the day, if you trying to really take your program to the next level, you need to take it to the next level. And that's the only way to do that. So kudos to him for that. You know, I'm sure when they get back and look at the film, they're going to find things on the film that were good.
Yeah.
There's going to be a silver lining in there. I know the receiver, Jude Walker, that's already a silver lining. I don't think that kid played last year, and he scored both their touchdowns that we were watching and had several other receptions. So, you know, I know they're breaking in a young quarterback. And, you know, the thing that you will get out of this after this game, and this is something that happened to us, is we played out of town three weeks in a row, and then we played an El Paso team. And I remember being at midfield during warm-ups, and my kids was like, they look normal. And so it was like a little boost going into the game. So imagine after playing them, when you come back and play your district schedule, it's going to give your kids a confidence that you wouldn't get if you don't play those guys.
Yeah, you know, you're right. You're absolutely right, and kudos to Coach Lopez for taking those guys out there because, I mean, they knew going into it they were going to be a top 10 team in the country going into it. So, and they're number 3 right now.
So I was reading an article, I think yesterday and it was a national article. It wasn't even an El Paso article about this game.
Yeah.
And so I guess it was somebody trying to find out information on Eastwood, and he was like, you know, I looked at the 247, I looked at the rivals, and I couldn't find any of their kids. And they were like, consequently, St. John Bosco has something like 27 kids on those lists.
And they're
And so I think that was telling of what was expected going out there. But again, they're going to find some things that they didn't know they had, and that's going to end up being a positive for them in this season.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing was speed. I mean, the first play of the game, 78-yard strike off the bat. That set the tone for what was to come.
It does, and I'm gonna say this, and I say this with experience playing outside of El Paso. More times than not, speed is a factor, but I think the thing that kills El Paso teams as we play different competition from different cities is not so much, we talk about size. And it's not the size of the linemen. It's the size of the skill position players.
Yeah.
When I took teams out of town, our 5'8" guys were playing 6'2" guys. And, you know, that physicality, that size difference, it creates a bigger window of opportunity for those bigger players to not have to play mistake-free. They can make up for mistakes, and their ability to perform fundamentals is a little bit easier than somebody that's of a smaller stature. So, but again, they're going to be used to that now that they've played those kind of guys over.
Definitely. Now, let's shift gears here a little bit, because there's a lot of games still being played right now. Just looked, you got Pebble Hills, Canyon Teal, 0-0 at the half. Is that an indictment on Pebble Hills, or does that speak well to what Canyon Teal as a program is doing there? Or is it a little bit of both?
I mean, what can you say about Canyon that hadn't been said about Coronado with Coach Brooks' dad? Yeah. You know, he's built that kind of program at Canyon. They're going to be one of the toughest teams in El Paso year in and year out. And the way that those kids play, regardless of what year it is, speaks to their program. Like, they play tough, hard-nosed football. And I think that's more of Canyon at a level that Pebble Hills is trying to get to with a new staff.
Yeah.
So you know, I didn't think it would be 0-0, but I knew it would be a good game.
Yeah. And, you know, you said that new staff. There's a lot of new staffs going on around the city, all over the city. Was it 4 new coaches? 4 or 5 new head coaches, I think?
Well, there's definitely 2 prominent new head coaches, two head coaches in some prominent programs. But, yeah, there was some good turnover this year.
Yeah, so it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. And it's kind of like what we were talking about before we went live. If you got a quarterback with some experience, you've got a chance here. And there's a lot of programs out there that I think are going to surprise some people, and everybody's going to be like, how? And it's going to be because they had good quarterback play.
Absolutely.
I mean, Del Valle, in my opinion, is probably the number 1 team in the city right now, and that has a lot to do with Jake Fetty.
I think that's everybody's opinion right now, that they're the program to beat right now, and it does have something to do with the quarterback. And, you know, it's funny that you say that because, you know, there's other schools that have returning quarterbacks.
Yep.
But if that's a new coach, then that quarterback, although is experienced, is not experienced in the new system.
Yep.
And you know, when that pressure gets turned on, that heat gets turned up, you know, you go back to your fundamentals, the stuff that you learned day one coming into high school, and day one for you was 2 weeks ago.
And so, you know, a lot of people are saying that Horizon Socorro right now, 14-14.
One of those teams are going to get a win. I don't think either one of them won last year, so that's good for them.
Yeah. Somebody's going to come out early. You got, who was this? Clint lost 34-7 to Andrews, and we kind of had that conversation.
Andrews is a juggernaut. I think Andrews could come into the 5A and 6A districts in El Paso and be competitive. The type of players that they have, you know, they've got the oil money. It's kind of funny that you say this about a small school, but they're a destination school. Mm-hmm. They have a lot of kids that play, and they've got a good system, and they do well. We played a playoff game after them 1 year, and we seen them play in the second round of the playoffs and beat somebody like 70-something to 7. It was the second round. So they done played a team that already beat somebody in the playoffs and beat them that bad. They're a good football program. So Clint's a good football program. You know, Coach Martinez out there does a good job of keeping those guys relevant year in and year out.
For sure. I mean, it amazes me how year in and year out that program remains relevant, man. It's just they churn it out.
They have that country boy attitude. You know, I love the fact, like, as a coach, I would love being in a situation like that where I don't have to worry about recruiting my own kids.
Yeah.
He gets to foster the values that he wants out of his program once they get into elementary school. They're Clint Lions from the time they get into elementary school all the way through high school. And that's why they're able to be so successful year in and stay relevant. You know, no matter how good their talent is, they believe in that system and they run it well.
Yeah. So before we go down some of these games, I want to shift the focus here for a second. So we've had this conversation a couple times. Is youth sports now, especially on the football side, helping close that gap for El Paso?
Yes. And it's funny you bring it up because I can recall a time, I would say 7 years ago, when we got a new youth association here in El Paso. And it was a big deal. It's when I think it's Teifel, when Teifel came here. And all of a sudden, the City League football had a rival where teams were going to play nationally and play outside of El Paso.
Was it Teifel or was it AYF? Or was it both?
I don't remember.
Actually, it was AYF, and then Teifel came in.
Okay. That's the Teifel is the 7-on-7. AYF is the
Badlands AYF.
Because I remember speaking at a couple of their clinics, and you know, they're getting those kids out there. So, yes, it's absolutely helped. Look at the amount of kids that's getting D1 offers.
Oh, yeah.
Since AYF has come around. Look at the amount of kids that's getting known on a national level. So, yes, those youth teams getting kids exposure has helped football, high school football in El Paso. But, you know, I got to play devil's advocate. It's made things a little more difficult for coaches keeping their own kids as well.
Yeah, yeah. I can see that, and you know, some of the conversations I have, a lot of these teams are trying to. You know what though? I'm just gonna say it. I'm gonna say it. It would be nice to see one of these teams just have all those players go there and see if they actually could go and make a run.
It'd be nice, and I have this conversation with people often, and you know, it comes up. You know, I don't coach anymore, but people still have coaching conversations with me, and they ask me, well, why can't El Paso win state? And they say it like it's something that's a normal thing in every other city.
Yeah, it's hard to win a state championship.
There's 3 cities in El Paso, 4 cities that win state, and that's it. It's Austin, San Antonio. Not as much, those 2, Houston and Dallas.
Yeah.
And then within those cities, there's destination schools. It's the same schools. So I think 3 years ago, I actually did a spreadsheet where I tracked every state champion in 5A and 6A over the last 20 years, which included 4A because, you know, the classifications changed. And you know how many repeat state champions were on there? It was a bunch. It was the same people year in and year out. And it's not that those coaches are that much better and the programs are that much better. It's they get the best kids because the parents figure out ways to move those kids to those schools.
Yeah.
And, you know, I read an article where it said Duncanville had 14 starters had transferred in from other schools, and they were already ranked athletes before they got there. So, you know, I love the coach at Duncanville. He's a good dude, but at the end of the day, it's easy to be a good coach when you're getting guys that's already ranked athletes coming in. So, you know, I don't think that winning state should be the metric for a city. The city has moved tremendously forward when it comes to football in the last 10 years.
You know, I think some of it comes down to, at the end of the day, you want that. You want to be able to say, it's the hardware. I mean, it's called a spade. It's the hardware.
In 5A and 6A, it is.
Yeah.
The only place where you can really make a difference coaching is 4A and below. If you look at that same chart that I was talking about, if you look at that chart for 4A and below, it's a lot more sporadic with teams that are winning state.
Yeah.
I think you can make a much bigger difference in those classifications because it's not just about who's got the most dudes. Now, I'm not going to say coaching don't matter. You still got to be a good coach. You still got to be able to put the guys where they're supposed to be, get them to execute their fundamentals. But again, it's easier to get them to execute those fundamentals when you got dudes.
It sure helps when they can run a 4.4, 4.3 40 for sure.
What's going on, y'all? My name is Sophia, and I work here at the Spot Family Entertainment Center, the newest hangout in El Paso. Bring your family and bring your friends down here to 8500 Dyer Street, Suite 80.
Into these scores, so I want to hit the two private schools real quick that, well, I say two non-UIL schools real quick that have played. So you had 6-man. Sanderson beat Emmanuel 57-12. But this is year 2 for that program.
I was about to say, I didn't even know Emmanuel had a football program.
Yeah, this is their second year. So kudos to them for really getting that thing going. And then Cathedral went out and Rock Springs, they beat Rock Springs 59-6.
Massive. That's massive. That's awesome for Cathedral. You know, you think about that program, and they don't have their own stadium. They don't have a practice field. They go to a park. You know, that's great that those kids can get out there and do that. And a lot of those kids, their first time playing football.
Yeah.
You know, I didn't know just how many of those kids cross the border every day to get to come play. So that's great for that coach, and that he got to get that going on his first. I know he's a new head coach.
Yep.
So he got to go do that his first game out. So that's good.
So now we get back into the UIL school. So Anthony and San Elzario yesterday, 28-14. It's closer than I thought. Is that the one that got stopped early, right?
No,
that was
Mountain View.
Mountain View,
Santa Teresa.
So Anthony, San Elzario, 14-28 today. Got a final in the Eastwood game.
What was the final?
71-14. I thought it was going to be an 80 piece. I'm going to be honest. I'm going to be honest. I thought it was going to be an 80 piece. I'm glad that second half they played a little bit better on the defensive side, but by the end it was already too late. But
no, I mean I didn't think it was going to get that out of hand. I thought Coach Lopez and them would do a much better job. But then again, like I keep saying it, they're going to go look at the film. They're going to see good things.
Yeah.
As crazy as it sounds, they're going to see good things in that film that they're going to be able to build upon when they have the young kids out there.
And I think the key to that is that they can't come back. Just my opinion. From sitting in the seat as a coach myself, you can't come back and harp on the things that you did bad in that game. You've got to find the good things and build on it.
Yeah, no, you got to fix them. You got to fix them. You got to fix those things and build on your strengths.
Yep. So then next we have, that's all the updates we got right now. So we had a couple of games get postponed.
Mm-hmm.
Was it 2 or 3, I think, last count?
I know Austin and Bowie got postponed. There was a couple games tomorrow, and as a coach, that really sucks. That really sucks. To get your kids up to play, then you got to go home, pick up the uniforms, get them back up there, get them ready to play the next day.
Yeah.
It messes with your weekend prep. It messes with your chemistry and your rhythm, your rhythm that you have in a game week, and it sucks to have to move a game to the next day. It really does, and crazy things happen in those games.
So it's Letta, 28-20, third quarter against Parkland. That's a shocker. Yeah. But again, we're talking about quarterback play, right?
Yep.
It's Letta's one of those ones that has a quarterback.
Coach's son.
That has some experience.
Coach's son. And Coach Martinez does a good job over there. He's been there for a while. He was with the previous staff, and so he's been a part of that program for a long time. And, yeah, you're right. Now that you brought it up, I forgot about that.
Yeah, they're one of the ones that's got Burgess and Bowie. It's actually third quarter 0-0.
Bowie's one of them teams that has
they've got a quarterback.
Experienced quarterback.
Oh, yeah. Socorro's up now 21-14. No, Horizon's up 21-14 over Socorro. Jefferson's up 12. No, Fabian's now up 13-12, fourth quarter over Jefferson. Another one with the experienced quarterback, though.
Coach Lavario is getting to his third year being the head coach out there, and that matters. And Fabens is one of those schools kind of like Clint. If you can get in there and you can get those elementaries and those middle school kids going, this should be the year that he starts to see the fruits of his labor.
Yeah.
When you get that kind of job, and you've got to have a 5 and a 10-year plan at a place like that.
Now, let me ask you a question. You bring that up about that job. How much does a new AD play into that?
Well, the new AD is a former head football coach, so that's a good thing for Coach Lavario.
Yeah.
Coach Blair gets it. He's been there, and he understands, what it's going to take for a team to be successful. So I think that definitely plays into the positive side of things for Fabens and their football program.
Yeah. And then the Mountain View game, 33-7 over Santa Teresa. Tempers got heated in that game. They called it early.
That happens from time to time.
Yeah, it does. I mean, I'm sure there was some things being said on the field.
And and I can see that happening because Mountain View, they're like Clint, they're like kind of T.O. They play a hard-nosed brand of football, and a lot of times opponents can't handle that. And Coach Check was there with Coach Rundell. Coach Rundell was a blue-collar guy, and his kids were blue-collar kids, and they're one of those schools, just like Clint, just like Mountain View, that has to go out and play non-El Paso schools as regular district games. So they walk around with a little different chip on their shoulder. We never played them on varsity because there's a 2 classification difference between us. But our sub-varsity used to play them, and it wasn't. They used to get after each other.
So this young man right here just became a trivia question here. So they opened up the new SAC. So Eder.
Oh, is it Eder? I thought it was
Eder. Eder Hernandez scores the first touchdown in the new SAC.
There you go. And it's poetic that it's a Socorro Bulldog that scores a touchdown in the new Socorro ISD Stadium.
So that's that young man's going to be he's going to be a trivia question.
That's good.
So I mean, it's kind of, doing this, you kind of want the games to be over. You got scores and all that stuff. But I mean, I think one of the reasons why I wanted to go forward with this while we were doing it was because there's some other things besides just the games going on that I think we're going to be able to touch on as we go through this season. And that's why I was so adamant about wanting to get you to join me here.
We get some other guys on here every week. Get some real coaches that still coach.
Oh yeah, and that's the thing too, right? So the offer's been out there. Coach, if you want to come on here and join us, come on. I mean, we do this live, and the part of this is to put a spotlight on the student athletes here in El Paso. And what better way to do that than for you as a coach to come on here and put that spotlight on your student athletes.
Showcase your kids, absolutely.
And so the offer is there. It's open to anybody that wants to come in here and join us. We get in here after the games are over, and we're just talking.
I can send some text out to some guys I still chit-chat with, get them to come on if you want me to.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I would love to get some faces on here so that, I mean, I know I'm a handsome guy, but everybody gets tired of seeing me. We want to get some more people on here. But I always tell people all the time, the platform wasn't created for me. It was created to put a spotlight on this, on what the student athletes here in El Paso and the coaches are doing here. And so that's why I started this, and that's why I continue to do it, and that's why I continue to bring on people like yourself to.
Ever since I've met you, you've been about it. You've done the digital media guide. You've done the banquets for the student athletes. You're doing this. You were trying to get the streaming going for the game. So, although it probably hasn't turned out exactly the way you want to as far as blowing up, El Paso's a different place.
Oh, yeah.
It takes a little time, but it's helped.
But you know what, though? I say this, and it wasn't until probably about a month and a half, 2 months ago. We started just about 5 years ago. 5 years ago, in that 5-year span, we picked every Division I football player to come out of this city when they were freshmen. Every single one.
And that's when you pick them. I used to tell people all the time, you know a Division I player the minute you meet them.
Yeah.
If there's a question, if they're a bubble player, they're not a Division I player. Like, you know immediately. Every Division I player that ever walked through the door of my locker room, I knew it the minute they walked through the locker room.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, you did a good job with that. There's a lot of people that don't really understand that in El Paso, and they think that because you're a good football player, you're a Division I player. Now, you can be a good football player and not be a Division I player. And you can be a Division I player and not be a good football player.
Yeah.
As crazy as that sounds.
Oh,
and
yeah.
that's really in every sport.
Oh, yeah. And, you know, it's in doing this, one of the things that I've been able to do that I cherish and I hold dear to is the relationships that I'm able to cultivate with not only the high school coaches, but the college coaches, right?
Oh, yeah.
And in having those conversations with them, it's always ask the same question, like, what's the distinguishing factor? And so I've been blessed to be able to make some relationships with college coaches that were at lower divisions and they've moved up.
Mm-hmm.
So one in particular is the Southern Utah coach.
Okay.
When I met him, he was at Frostburg State, Division II.
Mm-hmm.
He's a Division I coach now. We had the conversation about he said, it's the speed. It's the athleticism. He said, but one thing he told me that stood out was, he said, you have grown men, 26, 27-year-old grown men playing college football.
BYU.
Like, that is...
Yeah. You know, and it's funny because I'll sit up and I think I'm still pretty good friends with Coach Rodriguez. He's coaching for the Phoenix Cardinals Arizona Cardinals last year. You know, he coached for the Vikings, coached at UTEP, coached at Arizona State. And I remember he called me and asked me about a guy. And it's funny because coaches in college, to this day, I don't even coach anymore, call me and ask me about kids.
Yep.
What do you think about this kid?
I get them all the time. You know this kid? I'm like, yeah.
So he called me and he asked me about a kid. He said, what do you think about him? And I'm not going to say the kid's name. Kid was a good player. Awesome player. Great player. He said, you know, they trying to sell him to me. What do you think, Melton? I said, well, I think he's playing the wrong position. I don't think he's long enough, and he's not twitchy. And he goes, that's exactly what I thought.
Yep.
And so, again, it's like there's so many other factors that go into it that's not just how well you play on the field that people don't understand, and they see different things than we see.
Oh, yeah. And you know, and the other piece to this is that I have to tell people all the time, in doing what we do, I have to be an honest broker for this reason. When a coach calls me, and if I try to sell a kid and the kid bails, they never call back.
Nope.
And so for me, it's I have to sell kids to the level to which they can actually play at in order to ensure that I don't mess it up for the next one's coming.
That's what I tried to explain to so many coaches, that when you sell a kid, you're selling yourself.
Oh, yeah.
You're selling how well you evaluate kids. So I've had coaches come into my office and be like, I got nobody for you, like, at all. Oh, coach, that's cool. I'm just coming to see you because I know you're going to have people. So as soon as I start selling kids that's unsellable, they're not going to want to come talk to me.
No, sir, not at all.
And so if I'm able to be honest with them, they know that when I tell them this kid's a guy, they're going to come in and get him. And I don't just sell my kids. I used to sell everybody's kids.
Yeah.
And because, people say they get into this, or I get into this for the kids. Well, whose kids? Your kids or all kids? Because I used to try to sell everybody's kids. And to this day, I still talk to coaches about different kids around the city that I know are guys.
Yeah.
And they'll call me and they'll be like, hey, we got an offer to this kid, but I don't think he's that good. What do you think about him? And I'll be honest with him. Well, this is his track time. This is how big he is. This is, and because I think kids do still slip through the cracks, but you got to sell your name, and it's you're a basketball guy, so I'm gonna use this analogy. The two best basketball players that I ever personally played with were both Division III guys, and could play with anybody on the planet, and they were just not big enough. They were 6'2" guards.
That's the part that, like, I say this all the time. Coaches are fans.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
They want to see athleticism. They want to see the twitchiness. They want to see, like, to this day, college football coaches love basketball players because how it translates to the football field. That explosion translates directly to the football field.
Yeah.
And people don't understand that. And so size, all that stuff plays a part. You can be the best thing, but if you don't meet the eye test.
There's little things. So I had a coach talking to me. He was recruiting one of my running backs, and there was another running back in the state. He was like, our head coach wants us to take him. He was like, I want you to watch his film and tell me what you think. And I said, okay. I said, he couldn't play running back for me. He said, well, why? This kid, he's one of the top rated running backs in the state. And so I go to a play, and I said, because of this right here. He goes, well, what are you looking at? I said, he just put 2 feet in the ground to change directions. I said, our running backs don't do that. They're able to do it in one foot. And he was like, that's kind of what I was thinking. When you get to that level, that extra step is death for a running back. So consequently, they end up taking that running back. He ain't at that school no more.
Yeah.
And this kid was a big name running back.
Yeah.
And this was when I had Aaron. And Aaron was a big name running back, but he wasn't getting recruited by as many Power Fives as that guy. And, I wasn't just talking about Aaron because he was my guy, but I was like, this is why he plays running back for us.
Yeah.
And that's why that kid would not. And that kid was a great player, good player. But he had some different intangibles, size, speed, things like that our kids didn't have. But yeah, so it takes a different, the reason a lot of parents and coaches can't judge the talent in front of them is because they love their kids.
Yep.
And as a coach, you love your kids, and it's tough. So you got to step back and look at it from outside.
But it's week 1. Or is this week 0?
It's week 1 now. They eliminated 0 week.
Okay, got it. So week 1, I guess won't be in the books until tomorrow. So those games that play on Saturday, we'll catch up some point during the week. But man, I tell you, I'm looking forward to this, man. Just being able to have these conversations. Yeah, we're gonna go over the scores and stuff, but at the end of the day, it's still about elevating the student athletes and educating.
Yeah.
That's what this platform for me has been from day one, and so being able to bring like-minded people on that's got a different view on things, I look forward to it. So, but folks, that's been the Borderland Sports Report, week 1 in the books. We'll see you guys next Friday. I gotta pitch the venue where we're doing this at. So we're doing this live from Skyline Entertainment Center. Big open venue. Our goal for this is to have a live audience. So if you'd like to come in here and participate and be a part of what we're doing, we're here. We shoot this thing live. There's a kitchen. Get some food. Have some good time. Talk some ball. Come in and have a good time. So
no script.
And you know that's. I'm gonna be 100% with y'all right now. We were just sitting up here, and I was like, we should call this unscripted. Like, we come in with a loose framework of where we want this thing to go and an idea of where we want to go, but we let the conversation take it where we want to go. So come in, join us here, be a part of that, and you might get on TV.
Get a little Shannon Sharp action going. Some couches.
Yeah, get on TV, but this week 1 in the books. Appreciate you guys for joining us. You can catch us live on the platform. I think tonight we went live just on Fieldhouse Sports Entertainment Network, the app and the website. We're going to upload this in the morning to YouTube, Facebook, all those places. But and then it'll get turned into a podcast. So
there you go.
And here's the beauty of this, folks. We're at about 40,000 a month.
Viewers,
nice. Listeners. So kids are getting exposure.
There you go. Get your name mentioned. Might get on somebody's list.
And there's a bunch of college coaches that watch. So come be a part of this. Join us. But thank you guys. Have a good night. It's been real. Coach, appreciate you.